Welcome to Crafts and Minis. Today I wanted to show you a cheap option for all sorts of fun critters to add to your D&D and tabletop role-playing games. So I've seen this line a bunch and have bought other products from this line from Target, the TERRA line. And I was at Target yesterday and there was actually a sale that if you spent like $50 you got $10 off, or $100 you got $25 off. So I wanted to take advantage of these buckets. Now these buckets come at $8 US a piece. But what you get in them is pretty staggering. For $8, you get 60 different toys. Now, I don't know who's flipped through a monster manual and not seen giant bugs of some sort. And this is a great way to kickstart your collection of all sorts of creepy crawly critters for your D&D games. Now, these aren't the easiest material to work with. You're going to have to put some effort into it if you use these. Unless you like how they look right now, you can just throw them on the table as is, and that's great. But I wanted to show you the potential here. So just so you know, this is a 28mm Dungeons & Dragons figure in the middle, just to get some sort of sense of scale. Also, I put this spider on a 50mm base, which is about 2 inches, just to show you a sense of how big these are. Now, what's so great about fantasy gaming, or you can use these in the post-apocalypse or whatever, is that you take a critter from our world, from the real world, and you mount it on a base. If you give it a new paint job, like if you turn a spider purple, now it's a fantastic creature. Or if you have a super large ant, now it's a fantasy creature, right? Or I'm playing a game that requires blood flies. Now, I don't know what a blood fly is, but if it's a medium or large size creature, I got you covered now. And if you buy 2 of these buckets, now all of a sudden you've got 10 of each of these. Now, at first I was kind of looking through the buckets thinking, okay, what's in these? You know, I want to get the ones that have the most of the creatures I like. But then I'm so glad I just was like, oh, I'll just get enough so I have enough. Because there are actually 5 in these buckets of each type of creature. Now, like, take these ladybugs, right? I don't need giant ladybugs for my games. But mount those on a large base and paint them a different color, and those could easily pass as like some really cool giant scarabs for like an Egyptian theme setting or some sort of monstrous beetle of some sort. These spiders are really cool, actually, and those are going to paint up and model really well. You know, these grasshoppers could be used as mounts for little miniatures. I'm thinking of another video I did of the Dark Alliance line, and I know they have some figures mounted that are 1/72 scale that would look awesome on these grasshoppers. Now, when I mention you're going to have to do some work, for instance, to make these scorpions usable in the way I'd want to use them, you're going to have to address that tail and the legs. Some of the legs are a little wonky on a lot of these figures. But to address the tail, you got to treat them like you would Bones figures from Reaper that get out of whack a little bit. And what I would do is actually use a heat gun that you can get for your hobby that is going to, if you're modeling figures, especially the Bones line or any toys, is going to be used a ton to straighten out tails. I've done that on other toys like these scorpions, on other scorpion toys, and it looks really good because if you have this scorpion tail now all of a sudden go in its proper way, that's going to look awesome. And then, of course, I would prime them with Sandable Black Auto Primer. And then I would do some quick washes, maybe some highlights, a little dry brushing, you know what you got to do to make these things work. But I thought this was a great find. $8, 60 figures. Or if you're like me and you wait for the sales, you can get them even cheaper than that. This is the TERRA line, the Insect World bucket. They also have different buckets like sea creatures and farm animals. I know Dave over at Miniature Mashup did a great video on one of their buckets of animals, but I could not pass up all these insects. If you're looking for a cheap way to put a bunch of critters on your table, this is one of your options. Go get after your hobby.